Good evening. It being 6:36 p.m. on Thursday, March 26th, I'd like to call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. Tonight we'll be following the published and posted agenda. We'll be live broadcast via Chelmsford Telemedia and YouTube, and available for future available for future viewing. The first item on our agenda this evening is approval of minutes. We have minutes from March 12th, 2026. Everyone had an opportunity to review them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to review the minutes of the Chelmsford Finance Committee from March 12th, 2026.
I second it,
To review or approve?
To approve.
and I second the approve.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
7 in favor. Next this evening, we have a presentation and discussion of the general and zoning bylaw amendments for warrant articles 27 and 28 regarding outdoor lighting and outdoor illumination. With us this evening, we have Kelly Beatty, who's a citizen petitioner, and Christopher Lavallee, the chair of the planning board.
Thank you very much. Just to begin, when I was here this time last year about the earlier version of this, we had an extended discussion. And I want you to know that in preparing this version, I went back to that meeting, I took notes, I made changes, and it's a much better bylaw presentation because of your interaction with me. So thank you for that. I want to give you a little bit of background about, as I did last year, about the existing bylaw that we have in town for outdoor lighting, which has been in place since the year 2000. And one of the important points of that is that it was a first cut, and one of the things it did is that it required that any light emitting more than 2,000 lumens being the measurement of how much light something puts out, had to be fully shielded. Everything, commercial, residential, everything. So we're taking actually, you might ask, why do we need to change that? And that is almost entirely because of LEDs. Let's see if we can go to the next one, please. LEDs have become ubiquitous in our society, and they are really a dramatic change in technology. The problem is that they can be very bright, they're very inexpensive to use, and they get used almost with abandon. And so the other reason for needing a new one is that the first bylaw, as many are, was complaint-driven, and what ended up happening is not very many complaints were issued or raised when bad lighting got put in. And so our town is now awash with bad lighting. And so that's the primary reason for moving to a general bylaw over a zoning bylaw, which existing one's zoning, I'm going for general, we are going for general. So that we can primarily institute get rid of the grandfathering that exists for all of that bad lighting that has been installed, and give the owners of that lighting 10 years to bring it into conformance. It's a pretty generous, what we call a sunset clause. Let's see where we're at. If you can go to the next one, please. One of the big issues with LED lighting and how bright they are is the amount of glare that it produces. So this is light that hits you in the eye directly, and actually makes it much more difficult to see well at night. It's especially a problem for older citizens and even for our public safety officers, trying to see what's going on a property if there's a light shining in their face. The American Medical Association has had 2 health policies that they've in the last 10 years or so about outdoor lighting. And if you might think I'm here because of light pollution, that's a very small part of it, but I will say that a study published in Science in 2023 determined that the increase in light pollution nationwide is increasing at a rate of 7 to 10% per year. That's a pretty unsustainable amount of light pollution, and I hope that we can do something about it here. So our proposed bylaw, if you will, the next panel, really concentrates on both the glare that you see there and the uplight, the amount of light that goes up in space, but also especially the glare, because that glare is the key to quality lighting. This bylaw does not ask that no lighting be used, but that it be good lighting. And so if you go to the next one, this is a case study I want to show you from Nantucket. This is a school with a private school with lights on the outside, and you can obviously see the glare that's created by those lights. And Nantucket has a very, very strict outdoor lighting bylaw, and if you go to the next one, all they did was point those lights down, did not change them, but pointed them down, and the quality of the lighting became much, much better. Something else that's new since the initial bylaw, the original one in 2000, is that we've become aware that blue light is a very bad thing to have at night. And blue light is measured in a number of ways. If the next panel, please. But the most common way for consumer use, for sure, is something called color temperature. And essentially, the lower the number, the less blue light there is in that fixture. And science has shown that blue light at night is the worst for light pollution, is the worst for glare, is the worst for nocturnal environmental disruption, for human circadian disruption, how well you sleep at night. Blue light is the trigger for all of that. So, next panel, please. This is the framework for the bylaw that we're proposing. As I mentioned, it's a general bylaw rather than a zoning one. And what we did, a change from last year, is that we've segregated out, for ease and clarity, the residential and commercial sides of this bylaw. And so if we can go to the next one, please. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Back up for just 1 second. Right. The bylaw has some compliance triggers. Businesses are allowed 10 years to come into compliance, but if something happens before then, what I call a compliance trigger, that would necessitate an immediate conversion. One thing I want to mention is the second bullet there, the change of ownership on the commercial side, I think is a good idea, but in discussions with Evan Belansky and others and town council, we realized that it was very difficult to capture all of those property changes, and so we've removed that from the final wording of the bylaw. That trigger of change of ownership is not there. Next one, please. One of the things that this general bylaw includes is some strictures for the town and for anyone who is installing lights in the town, and in particular, the section here on the public right-of-way really is for two entities: our municipal street lights, as opposed to the lights that are on town properties. Those are not in the public right-of-way. And the National Grid lights that it installs for the benefit of whoever wants one on a pole. The lights that are, the National Grid lights that are on the poles right now are horrible lights, but they are not LEDs. And I think that probably within the next 2 years, I've not actually spoken to anybody from National Grid, but I would not be surprised if within the next 2 years, National Grid comes in and replaces those all with LEDs. And when they do, I would like to capture those and make them better lights. That is the whole point of the public lighting in the public right-of-way. It does also apply to our town streetlights. And one of the problems with the version from a year ago is that the public street lights that we have now are really high-quality LEDs. I like them a lot. The one thing that I wish they were different would be to have a lower color temperature, to have a slightly warmer light, but they're not bad. So in discussions with Christine Clancy about this, we realized, we thought that the street lights that we have, which were installed more than a decade ago, would likely need to be replaced within this 10-year time period, and that would be, a reasonable thing to do. However, when she looked at it more in more detail, it came to light that replacing our street lights would cost about $2 million, and although we may end up having to replace them anyway, having to do so because of this bylaw was not a particularly good idea. So we fine-tuned the public right-of-way wording so that the color temperature, which is the only thing that our existing streetlights don't conform to, is no longer there. And so this means that there will be no need to change the streetlights, but still have some guardrails up for any other lights, utility or otherwise that get installed. Next one, please. Right. And so this is my last slide. This kind of shows you in short form what's changed. We've separated out the requirements for commercial and residential to make it easier to understand what's what. The residential, I should mention, we removed the requirement for controlling lights brighter than 2,000 lumens. It's now a recommendation. And so that's actually something that's been eased for the part of the residents. But there are recommendations for how to have shielded lighting, how to have low color temperature lighting that are not enforceable, but are there as a sort of suggestion box for the residents. The commercial terms are basically unchanged from last time. And then the last thing that's significantly different from last time is we had a really complex enforcement framework, which was a challenge, would be a challenge to follow. So working with the building inspector and working with town council, we came up with a far less structured enforcement scheme. It's still there. We still want to have enforcement if needed. And but it's now more at the discretion of the building inspector as to what happens, whether discussion can change it or whether some sort of fine or other punitive measure is needed. I'll mention that the building inspector and I have had multiple conversations about this. We went out on a winter night and did some measurements with the meter to sort of get a framework for him. He's very now well aware of this and really embraces the idea of what lighting control can do to improve the town. And I think that's about it for me.
And I just want to add that the companion article to this one is the next one, and if 26 were to pass, we would follow up with 27 to essentially delete the bylaw in the zoning article, in the zoning bylaw, and replace it with the reference to the general bylaw.
Okay, any questions?
I have a couple of questions, please.
Yes.
So you mentioned on slide 5, American Medical Association, and you say "and others." So 2 questions on that bullet, please. Who are the others? And you cited studies. Are you able to present those studies?
Sure. Well, let me just take the last one
Yeah,
first.
okay.
The article from Science in 2023 was from lighting professionals around the country using ground-based measurements of light pollution to determine how much the light pollution is increasing. You're probably familiar with pictures of Earth taken at night from space. Turns out those are not good for determining how much light pollution occurs on the ground, because that's really only measuring the light that's going straight up and out of the atmosphere. And so I can give you the specifics of that if you'd like. It was from January of 2023 in Science.
It might be good to maybe footnote it on the slide, perhaps?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so you mentioned, when you were just speaking, American Medical Association, you said 2 studies there.
That's right. They
So-
put out 2 separate policies on outdoor lighting. The first one was generally calling attention to the disruption of circadian rhythm that light at night can cause. The studies show that people who are working in emergency rooms or graveyard shifts have substantially higher risk of developing cancers, both men and women, than others. And so that's one study. And the others besides the AMA is the Illuminating Engineering Society, which is the standard-setting organization for all kinds of lighting throughout the United States. And they also have come out with policies. They have what they call 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting that were developed in concert with Dark Sky International, which is the nonprofit organization that is sort of leading the fight against light pollution.
Okay. Thank you.
We do plan to have an FAQ handout for town meeting as well, and I'll make sure that we put those references on that.
Thank you.
I think that's a great idea, right? So,
Yeah.
and here, I think you're trying to make the point, we're trying to help you make the point clearly. Human health is harmed, right? It's a very generic statement. So if you can be more succinct and say, we want to help you sleep better.
Right.
Because that's really what we're trying to do here, right?
Right. That's
And
right.
then the second piece is, I think, more of a subset of the town, but really that applies to the whole town. And just, having some footnotes there provides some credibility.
Thank you. Well taken.
Well, it doesn't deal with the car lights at all, is that correct?
Unfortunately, no. If it were my job, I would definitely deal with the car lights, but it doesn't. That has been a really controversial issue. The National Highway Transportation Safety Council, I think that's what they are, is only now beginning to hear from all of us who find those obnoxious. I have to say, as just an aside, it's a double-edged sword. Those lights are very bright, and they produce a lot of blue light, right? And that's what hurts our eyes when we see them. But that blue light is what our eyes are most sensitive to at night. So from the standpoint of a driver on a lonely country road, using those lights, you can see farther. You can see more safely. But it's a zero-sum game. Whoever is coming toward you has less visibility because their eyes shut down. They can see very poorly, as you know, when they're coming at
How
you.
do you know I know?
You wouldn't have asked that question if it weren't for that. But it's definitely an issue that has gotten a lot of press. This doesn't address that, couldn't possibly address that.
But they're probably the single biggest issue in terms of what's going on, in terms of the damage or
They certainly are
irritation, let me put it
certainly a
that way.
major source of glare. But it's also the case, that, and if you happen to live near a busy street, that's going to be a problem. But on the other hand, the glare from building-mounted fixtures or street lights is going to be constant for you. And also, we have situations in town where there are residential districts right up against commercial districts, and the spillover from the latter onto the former can be really disruptive. And so that's one of the things I'm trying to capture, especially with this 10-year grace period. I should mention, I have had discussions with the Chelmsford Business Association. I knew somebody was going to ask that question. Although they are not actively supporting this, they're not opposing it either, and I have kept them fully informed about this.
So I do have a question about change of ownership. So
That's off the table, but yes,
it's off the table. Okay, that's good.
yeah.
Okay.
I still think, in my heart of hearts, I still think that would be a good way. Remember, if this passes, all lights that are now not in conformance will need to be brought into conformance within 10 years. What the change of ownership would do is that if somebody sold their property before then, it would trigger an immediate conversion to compliance. But
I
I've
understand what
removed
you're
that.
saying. Yeah, okay, I understand. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, and you did answer one of my questions. Getting back to the subject of mitigation and enforcement, you had a slide and you showed us where a facility in Nantucket where the situation was corrected simply by turning the lights down, which seems to be a pretty non-impactful way to resolve the problem from the standpoint of the property owner. So in your travels around town, do you have any sense of when mitigation is required, roughly what percentage of mitigation would be in that very simple category as opposed to a more drastic mitigation?
Right. So when you're installing a bright light, this applies to both residential and commercial, a security light on the side of your building. You're generally trying to illuminate not just the side of the building, maybe the entryway if you put one over a door, but you might be trying to illuminate a parking lot, for example, with this light on the side of the building, and you're necessarily shining the light out sideways. Often those lights are on gimbals, and so that's what happened here, and they could simply turn those down. And there's something that I think gets lost, but let me try to show you. When they turned those lights down, they did not decrease the amount of light coming out of the fixtures. They simply changed its distribution. So instead of being one blast coming in your direction, it now washes the wall, and that entire wall becomes the source of illumination for the foreground. It's basically the same reason why you have lampshades on your lamps at home, to distribute the light in a more even way. So, if you have a gimbal, you can just turn it down. Many lights, especially on commercial buildings, don't have that option. They're what we call wall packs. They are slapped up onto the side of the building, permanently installed that way, and those lights shine off to the side. I will tell you that if this bylaw passes, those will need to be replaced over a 10-year period.
So not to, I don't know, I don't have any more questions.
No. Go ahead.
Not to jump in, but would this now be in compliance? Because I don't think that meets your new color correlated temperature.
No, this wouldn't. This wouldn't. So in addition, these would have to have a lower color temperature. You're correct.
Okay. Because that looks like it's around 6,000 based upon your next slide.
Yeah, I wouldn't, this is actually the one with the staircase there.
Yeah.
That's just a made-up illustration. It's not the actual color temperature curves. You'd need to go in and look at the curves. But you're right. Most, especially early adopters of LEDs, all that was available was LEDs with very high color temperatures, 5,000 Kelvin or something, even higher. When we installed, as an aside, when we installed the street lights that we have now, this was under a contract with Johnson Controls. The street lights that we almost had installed were 5,700 Kelvin, which would have been very harsh, very blue. And we ended up with 4,000, which is what we could get at that time, much better. And so, again, to your point, there are some, especially commercial fixtures in town. The residential fixtures that you might buy at Home Depot, I actually did a couple of checks on this. Those are all like about 4,000 or lower for if I were going to buy one today. So the early adopters, the businesses and the homeowners who put up LED spotlight security lights 5 or 10 years ago will probably need to replace them depending. Again, they need to be over a certain brightness, over 2,000 lumens. So if we're talking about somebody's porch light, they're going to be fine anyway and will not be subject to the compliance.
But as a resident, they wouldn't be subject to that anyway,
That's
correct?
right. That's right.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. So my first question is, and I understand you chose a general bylaw rather than the zoning bylaw because you don't have the existing non-conforming ability. You have this 10-year sunset clause. Was there any thought process on retroactive for historic uses? Because with luminaires, you're talking about any shielding above, and a lot of colonial lighting does not have shielding above. So you'll have businesses in industries that will have to replace those. So there was no thought about a carve out for anything that would have any historical significance?
So if we're talking about this, I can imagine two kinds of lights that would fall into that category. Mm-hmm. One would be like a coach light, right? Those are rarely that bright. And so I would be more concerned about lighting that's on what I would call facade lighting, that washes the side of the building, the historic buildings that we have. And those do tend to be quite bright. And I think that facade lighting is, I'm not sure. I'll have to check. I'm sorry.
That's okay. My next question is regarding, in the commercial section, the height restriction for 25 and 35. So it's saying that no bigger than 25, but requires a permit from the planning board for 35, and 35 is the ultimate limit. So 25 is about 2 stories, 35 is about 3 stories. Right. But there's no existing non-conforming portion for this. So if you have a building that's 3 or 4 stories and it has lighting on it, are you saying that they're going to have to immediately remove that? Or move it within the 10 years? So for instance, the Alexan, which is the property of UMass West campus, has a bunch of 4-story buildings. they're going to have to redo all of their lighting because there's no carve-out for existing non-conforming. No, they're not. They're multifamily.
Multifamily are considered residential.
That'd be under the commercial side.
Oh, that one, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Unless I'm
My
reading this
apologies, you're right.
incorrectly.
You're
Yeah.
right.
So my concern is we have a whole bunch of apartment buildings or buildings over 2 stories that are all of a sudden going to be non-conforming and are going to be subject to this bylaw and have to remove anything below 25 feet or go get a retroactive permit from the planning board for anything above, up to 35 feet, and then nothing above 35 feet.
I don't have a good answer for you at this
Okay.
time, I'm sorry.
That's all right. In the residential portion, thank you for taking the residential out of it. I know there's a big issue with the last go-around. What I would say is that in all three, 4.31, 4.32, and 4.33, it says for after 2,000 lumens shall be fully shielded, but this is a preference, not a requirement. Shall has meaning legally, and it means it's mandatory duty or obligation. It's required, not permissive. I would recommend just removing the word shall if we're going to make this a thing that the town prefers but does not require. Additionally, at the end of 4.33, it says may be used with 4K. Simply removing may be used and putting is recommended would take care of that conflict of the language.
Okay, thank you.
For light trespass, under glare, 5.2,
Yes.
it says causes intense discomfort to occupants of adjacent properties. How is that going to be quantified? Because it's very subjective.
It's quantified under 5.1.1.
So 5.1.1, it doesn't, so you're saying that
Well,
intense
let me
discomfort?
just say as background.
Sure.
Glare is a problem that's very difficult to measure quantitatively. All the lighting people that I've talked to about this, they know it's a problem, but it's a very subjective, it's in the eye of the beholder, literally. And in fact, in the original bylaw has a nod in this direction. You shall not have light, on a neighboring property sufficient to cause disglare or I have to look it up to see the exact wording. But it was really vague. And so what this does under 5.1.1, try to establish some kind of limit so that when there is clearly overlighting of a neighbor's property, we have some way to quantify it as a starting point for whether action needs to be taken.
So rather than having that such subjective language as causes intense discomfort to occupants on adjacent properties, wouldn't it be better just to reference 5.1.1 definition?
I guess I would say no, because what you see there as these definitions are in sync with what the lighting industry is using for the definition of glare. They don't have numbers associated with it like 5.1.1.
Well, I understand that, but you're looking to now enforce something upon people, and by using something so subjective as causing intense discomfort to occupants, well, my intense discomfort may be something very different from somebody else, and that's my concern, is that because it's so subjective, you're now enforcing something upon someone based upon subjective analysis.
I take your point, but the lighting professionals who are making these definitions would, if we change this, because that's what I'm following the established definitions that the lighting community uses for these. And so the fact that glare can't be defined precisely is not, that's above my pay grade. And so what we're doing here, instead of saying, as our existing bylaw says, you can't shine a light so much that you're causing a shadow or causing discomfort, we're trying to quantify it in a way that at least establishes a threshold that most people would consider excessive. The 1/10 foot candle is the brightness of 10 full moons, roughly. And so if you have a situation where, and I know of people who are in this situation, they have light trespass coming onto their property that's so intense they have to install blackout shades on their windows in order to get to sleep at night. I would say that's excessive and potentially harmful.
I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm just saying that it's the glare portion. So I guess we're gonna have to disagree on that.
Well, I mean, if you're saying that under the definition of glare, it should say C 5.1.1,
I'm saying what's there is very subjective.
that's, and as I thought I explained, glare itself is very subjective.
But you're using, so my concern is, you're using something extraordinarily subjective to enforce something against a neighbor. That's where my concern lies.
Makes sense.
That's my concern, and I think it's a valid concern.
So, I guess my analogy would be the noise bylaw that the town has. The noise bylaw is very, very vague. There's no specificity to it, and yet it exists. And so in that, you could say the bylaw, I don't have it chapter and verse
I
here.
don't have it next to me.
But it says, you can't generate noise that's disruptive to your neighborhood. And then you say, well, how do you measure that? And what it says is, noise is too loud if it can be heard from 300 feet away. And that's a number. Doesn't do much for the neighbor who's right next to the party that's going on, because it's obviously going to be noisy there. So yes, there is some subjectivity here, and I'm not here to defend the lighting industry, but the lighting industry itself has yet to come up with a really good measurable definition for glare. What we've done here is to try to find a measurable level that, according to other statutes that I've seen elsewhere, is used as a kind of standard. What this said last year, just to make a mention here, it said last year it was 1/10 of a foot candle at the property line.
And you've adjusted to 15 feet on the
And
other
so
property.
there is a movement to say,
Yeah.
well, let's actually move that to where it's going to be impactful. And so it's either 15 feet inside or at the building, at those windows, whichever is closer.
Yeah, and I'm not taking issue with the 5.1.1. So I think we're not going to reach an understanding here on that particular section. So I'm just gonna.
I mean, would it be useful to you if we ended the definition of glare after the first sentence?
Well, it's one sentence. Do you mean after the first clause?
No, glare, the intense, harsh light emitted by a luminary that reduces visibility and creates visual
Oh,
discomfort
for the
or
definition.
morbid.
Excuse me, for the definitions above.
I'm sorry?
I was looking at glare as it's discussed in 5.2. I wasn't looking at the definition.
Okay. So your initial concern was that under the definitions, it was pretty vague, and it's vague for the reasons I mentioned. Maybe it would be less specifically vague if we got rid of the two sub-definitions for discomfort glare and disability glare, but I'm just here to tell you that's what the industry uses.
I'm gonna leave it there.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess I appreciate your argument,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure where I can go with it differently to make it better. If I change the definition of glare, then I'm running afoul of what is established.
Well, I'm not asking you to change the definition of glare. I was pointing out the extreme subjectivity of causes intense discomfort to occupants in adjacent properties under 5.2.
Oh, I see. Oh, all right.
Yeah. That's where the subjectivity is.
Just makes it harder to enforce.
It does, actually, yeah.
Well, May I disagree? It doesn't make it harder to enforce if we have a standard for making that enforcement, which is in 1.1. Otherwise, you lapse back to what we have now under the lighting bylaw, which is there is a definition there of what I'll find it for you. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Would it be more helpful in that 5.2 if instead of saying is declared to be a lighting nuisance when it exceeds the standards in 5.1.1?
I think that's what I said 15 minutes ago.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
That's
I
okay.
must have picked that up from the wrong end because
That's okay.
I thought you were talking about the definition in the definition
Nope.
section. Oh, okay. I apologize.
That's okay.
Yeah,
That's why I said we weren't, we weren't understanding the same thing, I think, yes.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Just a couple more
And
questions.
so we'll make that change.
Yeah.
right?
So you mentioned that the lighting the public way is gonna apply to the town and the lamps are gonna need to be replaced over the next 10 years or so. And so the only issue that you have, and there's been an adjustment, I think, to the wording that's currently in the warrant, where it's only gonna be related to the color temperature and nothing else for those particular lamps for the town's purposes?
No, it's kind of the other way around. We took out the color temperature requirement
Okay.
so that the town's existing streetlights would conform.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
And so it's a double-edged sword because if National Grid comes in and wants to replace all of its pole-mounted lights with LEDs, they will not be bound by a color temperature requirement. But it's,
Got it. And then for prohibitions, you have the clause, except for holiday lighting or as required by public safety personnel. Would you consider public safety personnel to include public works?
yes, I
Okay.
certainly would.
That's a good point.
It's,
But
It's identified differently in other portions. That's why I asked. Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
Evan, do you know?
I think the wording that we have there came from town council, so we should probably make a quick adjustment.
Okay.
to include it.
To include that, that'd be
Yeah.
perfect, yeah. And then just down to enforcement, my last couple questions. So you mentioned that you've had discussions with the building inspector and you've gone out. Enforcement, and we had this discussion, I think, last time around. You don't believe enforcement's gonna be necessary during off hours?
Not initially. I mean, you know, let me back up to the noise pollution again.
Sure.
Sometimes enforcement requires you to be out whenever that incursion occurs. And what my take from my discussions with the building inspector is that he would understand the need to go out to use, I've given him a meter actually, to make the measurements that are necessarily to determine whether there's compliance with 5.1.1. But he's currently not allowed to accrue over, as I understand it. Maybe I misunderstood him, but he says he gets comp time but not paid for overtime. Although he works plenty of emergencies where he's out when he shouldn't be. So I think that's an issue for a different venue than this. He understands the lighting issues. He is much better prepared now to address them if needed. If you go out during the daytime, and again, I'm not completely attuned to the legalities of this. If a neighbor complains about another neighbor's light, what is he allowed to do? He can go onto the offending neighbor's property with permission, as I understand it. But in the meantime, he can do that in daytime, determine the lumens on that lighting fixture and what direction it's pointed, and make a qualitative estimate of whether or not it's a problem light or not. And he might recommend, since we're talking here mostly about residential, I think the tenor here is mostly residential. Most residential security lights are gimbaled, and so they could be pointed down. And I think a simple solution might be to recommend to the homeowner with those lights to point them down instead of out.
Okay.
And I think my take on this is that that would probably end the disagreement, because again, it's really less about the intensity of the bulbs, but it's about their directionality. And if that bulb is pointed directly at your property because you're trying to cover a whole acre with it or something like that, then it's going to create a lot of glare.
Okay. I think this might be my last question. For section 9.3 on submission of plans regarding the bylaw and proposed work that's going to be done for additional lighting, in 9.3.2, it's talking about descriptions of all luminaires, fixtures, lamps, supports, reflectors, both existing and proposed. So are you requiring an existing plan with lights that are going to be removed, or are you pointing out existing lights that are going to remain on the property? Because that couples with part B of my question.
So typically what we do in the planning board, which this would probably follow, is we have an as-is and then
Yep.
what the proposed is. So it would probably follow the same.
So that leads to my part B. It's looking for a description, including but not limited to specific data, illustrations, manufacturers, things like that, lumens, things of that nature, which may not be available for existing fixtures that have been on there 15, 20 years. And so I'm wondering how that's going to work.
Typically, we don't always need that. We usually look at the current scenario, mainly in terms of where it is, what the blast radius is for the lighting, what the coverage is, and then what the new one would be. And it would be the new one that has the details of the fixtures.
So you're not looking for the details of fixtures on that?
Typically, we don't.
Okay, I would hope not. That's not the way I was reading it from that 9.3.
Yeah, typically we don't have that on any of the plans for planning board.
Okay. And so photometric site drawings would not include that? Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right,
Thank you for your time.
thank you. All right, moving along, we have a presentation and discussion of zoning bylaw amendments, warrant article 29. I'm not going to read all, I'm going to read them as we go through. 29, rezone certain parcels on the official zoning map.
Okay. So, this is a follow-up to the work that we have been doing to rezone parts of town. This area specifically is the Middlesex Mills area that we are looking to rezone that area. You can go to the next slide. So, in 2022, we worked with NIMCOG to identify a number of zoning areas in town that are conflicts. Part of the discussion that we had at the time was different ways to mitigate. And what we found in Kate's Corner as a model, and this area that we're talking about today was another test case that we did briefly at the time. And then after the zone was approved at town meeting, we went back to this area to reconfirm all of our initial assumptions were true. You can go to the next one. So we did create that CB light zone at the last town meeting. We are using it as a transition zone between IA and other zones like residential. We're using it as a replacement in some areas for IA. We did apply it to Kate's Corner. And as I mentioned, we use this landing at Chelmsford Mills as a stress test And now we're going back to that area to make sure it's still applying. So these are the summary of the CBLT. I'm not going to go through all of it. Hopefully you remember all of the changes that we did, but that is the summary. I just wanted to highlight the ultralight manufacturing definition and then the updated light manufacturing definition. The dark text is really the focus of the changes that we did. So we really were focusing ultralight on the high-value production, the precision fabrication, intricate assembly, small scale. And you can see some of the examples there. Highlighting the light manufacturing, this is a little bit more less intricate, a little bit less fine-tuning, a little bit larger scale. So these are the parcels, the current zoning in these parcels. And at town meeting, I will have another handout that gives the zoning abbreviations. I forgot to send that to the chair ahead of time, so I will review them here. So CD is the general commercial district, RM is the residential multifamily, RC is the medium density residential, CD, general commercial, and IA is industrial. CB is on the right side, and that's roadside commercial district. So these are the zones that are currently in place, and then if the next slide is are the changes that we're proposing. So up at the top, underneath the word parcels, I'll start there and kind of go clockwise around. So top left, that we're proposing to remain CD, which is general commercial. The RC that's in there now is CD, so we're going to propose to change those to residential, which is what is in place on the ground. Then we go to RC, which is medium density residential. That is currently IA. And then we get to the waterway area, and that we're proposing to go CBLT. Those are the train track areas. So that whole industrial area in there, we're proposing to change to CBLT. Continuing clockwise, we have more CBLT, and then more towards the middle of the slide, there's industrial properties that are actually residential. So we're going to change those back over to residential. And then there's a little sliver between the RC and the CB that is going to switch over to roadside commercial. Then the mill property in the left center of the slide, that is currently industrial, and we're looking to change those properties to CBLT. If you notice in the a little bit top left of the CBLT area in the mills, there's an RM stuck in the middle. That's a multifamily that is currently in industrial, so we want to keep that multifamily. So those are the changes we're proposing. This is a summary of the parcels that are changing, what they currently are and what they're changing to. We had multiple meetings on this, both informal discussions and formal public hearings. We had a couple property owners come out, ask clarifying questions, but one of the property owners was actually excited about the change, and no people coming out in opposition.
The CBLT allows for restaurants and things like that,
Yep.
correct?
Yep. So the mills that are on
So I
the
know the owner that liked
opposite
it.
side
Okay, yep.
is exactly what'll be allowed. Well, not exactly. It's going to be a little bit different because it's a different flavor zone. But the restaurants, the shops, all of that will now be allowed in that mill area.
And you presented this at the Chelmsford, North Chelmsford
Oh, yes, thank you. I did present this at the North Chelmsford,
Final Square Strategic Action Planning.
thank you.
You're welcome.
And they're in support of this as well. I presented to them multiple times.
Just curious on the thought process on, when you look at the area, is it that you're trying to create a more dense village area? Or is you just simply trying to reflect what's there today?
So we're trying to do two things with this, well, three things actually, in this area. Some of it is trying to reflect what's there now, specifically with the residential. Never a good idea to put residential in an industrial area, so we want to rezone that residential. The other thing is for especially the mills to more accurately reflect what's there now, as opposed to what used to be there historically, and also to allow them more growth and opportunities for new businesses to come in. They actually came to us and said, we really want to be part of this zone. So they have some opportunities that they want to bring in, different types of businesses than they're allowed to do right now in industrial. So they really wanted that change. Then for the railroad areas, we technically could leave them IA, but if those ever change over, the potential impact of IA in that area to not just the residences, but the waterways could be significant. So we wanted to minimize the negative impacts in that area as well.
Chris, quick question. On the bottom left corner, where it says remain CD, and then there's a little yellow box, it looks like it's residential. In the previous slide, it's marked RC, but here it's not marked at all.
It stays RC.
It stays RC.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think for the most part, the light yellow, if it's RC, it
Yeah.
remains RC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. It's not marked.
It's
so,
not marked.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it makes sense with the mills across the street being able to do the same thing that the mills across the street can do.
Yep.
I know that I'm sure that the school and the dance and the dance academy would be happy to have the options of like a cafe or something in that building.
It'd be great buildings to have that kind of stuff in there, too.
What do you think about in Lowell, a lot of the Lowell Mill buildings that
Yeah.
have that type of stuff in it? You can't currently do that in those
Yeah.
buildings there.
What were you saying, Anita?
No, I was just saying, that's a great place to have, like a cafe.
Yeah.
In those buildings, like,
The other thing that is in some of the Lowell buildings that is not permitted in IA are the artist
Yep.
shops. So that's another thing that could go in there now.
Any other questions? All right. Moving along to the next article regarding Community Enhancement and Investment Overlay District, the COID.
Okay. So for this one, if you go to the next slide. So for this one, there are a number of different changes that we went through on this one to update, to clarify, to do a whole number of things. So for applicability, we're looking to add the text underlined here to not only take into account the gross square footage, but also the square footage of the building footprint. If you go to the next slide, this is the reason why. So if you only look at the gross square footage, the top scenario is permitted. So you have a footprint, you have 2 floors. If the developer wanted to come in and do what's on the right, that is permitted if you do not take into account the building footprint. And, yeah. The bottom one is also permitted. So you might have a shorter building or a taller building, but the current bylaw doesn't take into account either of those conditions and with that expanded footprint. Next slide. The proposed bylaw actually takes into account the footprint. So for the change from 2 floors to 1 floor, you can actually keep it as high as the 2 floors, but you are limited on the footprint. So you wouldn't be able to put a larger footprint on the property.
Which we believe, really was the intent of this, but we wanted to close this little loop.
Yep. All right, next slide. Use regulations. So this came up in a couple potential projects that came before us where the overlay allowed residential projects in addition to other projects in the underlying zoning. And what we wanted to do here is to make sure that if there are 2 uses combined into a single project, that it comes before the board for a special permit. The reason why is because we don't want it to be a by right scenario where we might have a residential area and a residential part of the project with some uses right above it or next to it that might be detrimental to the residences. One potential example that we started to look at, but the project was withdrawn, was the Beehive on 129, where you had residents on top and then indoor contractor yard on the bottom. Some contractors would probably be fine, but if you had others with hazardous material or big equipment, that might pose some challenges to residences in that same building. So we wanted to be able to look at these projects and determine, based on the uses and the proposed mitigations, what the potential solutions might be. Performance standards. So this change allows the board to potentially request technical information that might be needed, mainly around noise. If there is a proposed use, like a car wash near residential, maybe the board might need some more detailed information and a noise study about how loud the vacuums are right abutting the neighbor area. So this allows us to request that technical evidence if needed, depending on the project. Same thing on this one. It's a little bit more detailed on the special permits for some of the uses. For this one, we are proposing adding the word "or structure" because we realize that someone may put up a building or another type of structure and it wasn't technically a building. So we wanted to make sure that all our bases are covered on this. For this one, this is related to really looking at the submission material that the applicant is submitting to the planning board. What we've been historically provided doesn't necessarily show how they're intending to meet the performance standards. We often talk about it in the meeting, we often get to it eventually, but this really requires them upfront to really lay out how they're intending to meet the performance standards. It'll help save some time during the hearings and really be able to have specific discussions on some of the points. On the next change we're proposing is to add another trigger in here for substantial changes to stormwater system or site elevation. We realize that they might be able to change site elevation and changes to the stormwater without coming before us. So we wanted to make it clear that those substantial changes needed to come before us and require a public hearing.
How do you measure substantial changes?
That's a good question. Often it is the Evan Blansky's judgment on what is major, what is a minor change, what's substantial, what's not. And he'll often consult with the chair of the board to see if it's something the board wants to really look at. It is a judgment call, and it's a pretty common one for plan changes.
But you're making a judgment call. So, I don't understand how you can do that.
Usually Evan errs on the side of caution and has the applicant come before us if he's aware of it and if it's a change that he feels the board is likely to have questions on.
But the change has no measurement to it.
Correct.
So it triggers review, but not necessarily enforcement?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just review.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just whether or not they come before us.
And you could say, we don't agree with it,
Yeah.
and they could still go forward with it.
Well,
No.
no,
well.
if the permit's not issued, then they have to appeal it. And there's a set appeal process already codified to do that.
You're still back to no measurement in my mind. I don't get where the measurement is.
I get your point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it is a common thing in the bylaws for zoning. As you notice,
That's why the land court exists.
All right.
Yeah.
if you notice, number 5, which is now 6, and 6, which is 7, also has that same substantial.
That was already
Wording.
there, like,
Okay.
Pretty common.
Case law. Yeah. All right. Any questions on the previous changes for the CIOD?
No.
Okay. All right, next article is a review of the warrant to revise the definition of boarding house.
You can go to the next one. So after the last town meeting where we redefined the zoning definition of family, it was raised to us that the current zoning definition of boarding house has some inconsistencies with that, the wording. So what we did is we reworded it for additional clarity. We included the state licensing reference, which wasn't in the prior version. And we provided distinct descriptions to separate it from the definition of family and family units. So this is our current definition for reference. And we are looking to replace the entire definition in 2 pieces. So the first section is referencing the facility licensed under the state general laws. And then we wanted to clarify it a little bit further for our purposes in town. And that is the section that distinguishes it from the family definition, the family units.
So I'm just gonna see if this is simplified in my head. Family is 4 guys who went to high school together and they really get along and they want a room together and they sign a single lease. That's cool. But if it's the landlord contracting with each one of them individually, that's a boarding house.
Typically, yes.
Okay.
Yep. They have separate agreements, separate fees, very separate agreements.
Any other questions? All right, our next one is a warrant article regarding adding the new definition for bed and breakfast and adding to the use table as well.
Okay, so as the discussion went on at the last town meeting, people were looking up definitions of different things, and someone pointed out that there was no definition of a bed and breakfast in our zoning bylaws. And so we said, might be a good idea to define it, potentially see if it could fit in our town in different zones. So the planning board did take a look at that. And we looked at it in relation to the hotels, motels, and boarding houses, and then also looked at the business model of a bed and breakfast. We looked at other towns. We looked at sample definitions around the state and came up with a proposed definition. Next slide. It's a private dwelling that provides transient overnight accommodations in not more than 3 guest rooms. As defined in, again, it's a state-defined use that is owner-occupied and used as the owner's primary residence. Only breakfast may be served, and it may provide exclusively to registered overnight guests. Guest rooms shall not contain individual cooking facilities, and we wanted to separate it distinctly from all of the other similar uses that we have defined.
So what does an Airbnb would fit in one of these things, or a Verbo?
So those are not bed and breakfasts, and we had this discussion at the planning board, and it was a while ago.
So Airbnb is like you're renting, you're just renting your house, like.
Yeah, it's a
like-
separate type of agreement.
Like, so for instance.
Short lease?
Yeah, there's short-term leases, like, for example, like, if you have a vacation, like, there are beach areas, right?
Yeah.
People own those houses, there are people that live there year-round, there are people that, there's the second home, and then there are businesses that own those houses that rent them seasonally, weekly to renters, right? So those are short-term lease, and I think the Airbnbs are defined as short-term, but I don't know what.
Because Airbnbs, Verbos, usually you get the whole dang house. Airbnbs, you can rent a room. So that's why I'm asking, because that could kind of fall
Yeah,
under.
and Evan reminded me in our bylaws, we do not allow those short-term in any residential area.
So short-term room rentals or short-term house rentals?
House.
Okay, well, I've seen some, so that's interesting.
And sorry, I might be missing something, but as I look at things, I try to think about things as simply as we can. And so we're adding a bit more complexity here. Again, what is the thing that we're solving for?
So the opportunity to provide additional revenue to residences, additional options for development and uses in town to stimulate the area.
Got it. So the idea is that it's not permitted today, so people can't create a bed and breakfast today.
Correct.
So we're
If we
just creating
don't have,
opportunity for people.
if a use is not specifically mentioned in our table, it's not permitted.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Someone
bed and
could
breakfast would
theoretically
have to be-
now, after this change, have a bed and breakfast in town that they could not legally have prior.
Gotcha.
And the bed and breakfast has to be registered with who?
The state.
The state.
But no Airbnb and no Verbo pursuant to our bylaws.
Correct.
I agree, interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting, because I've seen some.
Yeah, same.
Next slide is the use table. Go back.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
We are proposing that it be allowed in the commercial area, in the commercial zones by special permit.
Okay. Any questions? Any additional questions? All right. Next article is a review of the use table for commercial parking, garage, and structures.
As we were going through the CBLT zoning, we realized that the current use, the parking garage / structure, is, and the accessory parking garages, which are industrial line 17A, are not quite aligned with our accessory parking lots that we put in. So what we did is we looked at aligning those to planning board approval. Go to the next slide. The parking garage structure are currently ZBA special permit approvals, but we had the parking lots as the planning board, so we're proposing to change these over to the planning board special permit to keep it in line. So all parking structures, lots go to the planning board.
So it would be still reviewed, but slightly less restrictive, because for a ZBA, you'd have to have a reason to be granted.
You
rather
would
than-
likely have to have the same
Yeah.
type of reason for the planning board. It's a little bit less,
It's still a little less restrictive under
Yeah.
a special permit than a
Yeah.
ZBA.
So going back 2 slides, the bed and breakfast, and
wait.
the
Okay.
where it's allowed.
yes.
So what's the prevalence of a house with 3 bedrooms in a commercial area versus a residential area? Because I'm trying to, like, the intent is to allow people to start up a bed and breakfast, but if there are no single-family homes with 4 bedrooms in a commercial area, then doesn't that,
We do have quite a few,
okay,
and you could also build one too. It allows you to build one.
okay. Yeah, I mean, it just seems contradictory. That's all I'm trying to think about. How do you create cohesion in between the purpose and intent of the bylaw versus, where it's allowed here?
Yeah, and if we see that there is a demand for the residential areas, we could also take a look at down the road, allowing it in the residential areas.
Think about even in the center of town, we have a couple of like multifamily old Victorians that are multifamily. Someone may buy that in the center of town and turn it into a bread and breakfast.
But you only could rent out 3 rooms, right?
True, but my point is, like, there
Right.
are structures
Yeah.
that we don't think about, like, in areas that
Gotcha.
someone could, or, again, someone could take, even on,
They could also be owner-occupied, so you could have the 3 guest rooms plus an owner-occupied section and a kitchen
Yep.
and a dining area, rather
Okay.
than, 4 apartment-type things or something like that.
Okay.
So there's the opportunities there. It's just, you're right, it doesn't, you look at it and go, okay, how many people are gonna do this? I don't know, but now it's allowed.
Yeah. Well, this starts the conversation.
yep.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a lot of parking garages in town?
I can't think of one.
Don't think of,
Research,
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Oh, 10 research, yeah,
Yeah.
or 12.
doesn't.
Okay.
Big deals out of
Pure parking
It's
garage.
like, well, I'm saying, what about Airbnbs? Oh, we don't have them. Yes, you do.
Was that parking garage was done as part of the development, though, right?
Yep,
Right.
they did.
Right, yeah.
Any other questions on parking garage structure? All right, the final warrant article, I believe, that you're reviewing.
Yes.
Zoning dimensional table changes minimum depth from 0 to non-applicable.
Actually, I think the summary needs to be changed.
Ah.
Nope, it's 0 to, okay. So, if you go to the next slide, right now in a number of our, I'm not gonna go through every one of these tables, because it's all pretty much the same. But I'll use this as the example. If you look at the dimensional requirements right now, we have a number of dimensional requirements that are 0 feet. Doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to have 0 feet. So the depth is, we're proposing to change it to not applicable. In some areas, the depth was not applicable. In some areas, it was 0. So we're proposing to put it all as not applicable. More of a housekeeping article.
Vague
So
enough.
whole lot of,
Sounds vague.
whole lot of slides to show we've changed from 0 to non-applicable.
How long do you think we'll discuss this at town meeting? And how many
Oh,
questions?
there's gonna be a lot.
I've just,
There's gonna be a lot.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna pack a
We've
lunch.
just
for
gone
this
through all
one.
the general
That's right.
zoning bylaw amendments, and it took about an hour and 10 minutes, so multiply that by 3.
yeah, We have 165 land use and zoning experts at town meeting, just remember that.
And only a handful of them are actually on the planning board.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ladies room?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Want to take a brief recess before public comment?
Well, if that's the case.
Sure. We'll take a brief recess right before public comment. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought Elaine had come back in. Scratch that. All right. I'd like to call this back to order at 7:53. Next item on the agenda is public comment, and we have two items of public comment. One before we start our review, discussion and votes on recommendations for the budget and warrant articles, and then we have another opportunity after. Is there any public comment at this point? Seeing none and none in the Zoom room, we'll move right along to a review, discussion, and vote on recommendations for the fiscal year 2027 budget and the Springtown meeting warrant articles. And so, as we typically do, we'll run through, we'll have a motion, a second, a discussion on our review of the article, and then a vote. And we'll go 1 through 36. And Cindy, are you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
You ready to go?
Yeah. So Article 1 is the report of the town officers
Yes.
and committees, right?
And so there'll be no action on that
No
because
action on that.
it's simply a report, yes.
Okay, all right.
And we have two consent agendas. We'll
Consent
simply-
agenda 2, what's the vote on that? Because the first one says consent 2/3 vote. What is the second one?
So-
Majority?
That's going to be majority
first
vote,
one.
yeah. So the
The
reason why
majority.
the second consent agenda is as it is because those require a 2/3 vote, so they couldn't be lumped in together with, or you don't want to lump them in together with a majority vote.
Yeah, okay, that just, I would
That's
love,
the-
I'd love it to say majority vote for which one's it?
It's assumed if it
Yeah,
doesn't say
not
two-thirds.
representation, but it's
No, no,
certainly
I'm
a,
just saying, you know,
Clarity. I
what
get it.
clarity, one last time.
sure,
Here, yeah.
sure. All right.
Tech writer, can I help?
And Jim,
get it. I'm with you.
walking through each article in the consent agenda.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're
yes.
not gonna-
We're gonna
okay.
vote independent, yes, we're gonna vote on, because there may be votes where we don't, it may be consent agenda, but we have a different vote.
Yeah.
We could have extensions, we could have things like that.
Sure.
So typically, what I will do when that comes up at town meeting, at the consent agenda, and I'm asked for, after reviewing those articles, I'll say how we vote on each separate article.
Yeah.
And if there's a difference on one of them, certainly someone will ask us.
Okay.
So the first article for review would be Article 2. Before we give a vote on this, however, we do have our Darlene Luciera, our town accountant, in the audience, and she is going to just update us on now that we have the numbers that they've come for this particular article.
Just give you a little background and a little information about where these numbers come from and why
Thank you.
we're requesting them. On the municipal administration, we need to do a budget adjustment for the town manager's budget because he'll be leaving in May 25th. So we need to pay out. He does have a payout of his PTO. So we're going to be, there's $45,000 that needs to be paid out there. And then we're going to be probably bringing in an interim, and then we'll just, I'm going to add a small amount of $5,000 for a stipend for the interim person that's going to be the town manager for the interim until they hire a new town manager. So that's where that $50,890 comes from. And that's going to be in the salary line. So we just can't, you have to, salaries are salaries and expenditures are expenditures. You can't cross lines. So they have to be put into those categories. Our legal costs are extremely high this year. Probably one of the highest I've seen probably in 10 years. So at the end of March, we were already in a deficit of $89,000. We just received March's bill today, but it's March, April, May, June. We have 4 months of bills, and the estimated runs around $36,000 a month as our legal bills. So that's about $144,000. We're already in a deficit of 89, so that's why we're asking for the $230,000 that we need to get in that account to make us whole.
Given our size, at what point do we look at a legal department?
Hopefully not. This is extraordinary, as Tommy said, it's the highest in 20 years. It all has to
So-
do with land use.
So we're thinking this is not going to be, this is an aberration, this is not going to be a trend. Okay, okay.
To do with the Ledge Road quarries, the Riverneck Road 40B projects. So
Okay.
we're hoping this is not a trend.
Well, I'm going to knock on wood and cross my fingers and toes.
We are on public safety line items. The fire department, they just had a resign of their mechanic. So they've been using the DPW mechanic to do any small repairs on their vehicles. The big repairs, the trucks have to go out, they're actually outsourcing a vendor to fix them. But, so he needs to increase his overtime for that line item. His utility costs, you're gonna kind of see this is kind of repeats in other departments. The electricity costs has skyrocketed, and when we budgeted this a year and a half ago, we didn't expect what we're seeing for the increase in electricity costs. So he's asking for an increase in his electricity and his natural gas. Vehicle maintenance, again, he's outsourcing some of those, the larger trucks have to go out. If the ladder truck or anything like that has to be repaired. He did just have a truck that went down that needed to go out, so he needs a $50,000 increase there. He does have some equipment repair, and you'll see there it's basically a $30,000. The safety satellite communication system is on one of the roofs that's actually being replaced, so it needs to be taken off that roof and put back somewhere else. So there's a cost to do that, the vendor to do that. And that was kind of an unexpected cost when they were doing the budget. So that's his. So he's going to be needing some money there. So again, there's $20,000 worth of salaries, and then the $92,000 worth he needs for expenditures. Those line items. Police, as you know, our police chief is retiring as of June 30th. They'll be doing an assessment center. There's a cost of that assessment center. And it runs around $20,000 or so for assessment center. That could be just a little bit high. He hasn't gotten a bid yet on the assessment center, but we just want to make sure that he has enough in there. And then we had, as you know, and you probably have seen, a lot of new hires in the police department. He's fully staffed, but when that comes to that, we have to, recruitment supplies, these guys have to be fitted for all of their equipment and everything like that. So he needs an adjustment there for $20,000 for equipment. So he's asking for a $50,000 line item there. Public Works, as you know, snow and ice. Winter was really bad, so we just, we're currently to date, we're we're about $600,000 in the red. I am processing tomorrow a couple more salt invoices that total about another $50,000. So the invoices are still coming in for this. So we're just kind of doing a little bit of estimate. We're looking at about $425,000 for contractors. There's, when the budget for that line item was only 200, right now we've already spent 425,000 on just contractors, outside contractors. Our salt budget, our actuals were 470. So, we're desperately needing, an additional revenue for the salt budget. We're talking with the DPW director. She's not gonna fill the shed. She is going to just keep it half. She feels that that's just sufficient, and then she'll purchase some through the summer months. So that adjustment, we really do need. It's $645,000. Again, just as of today, we're, just around the $600,000 mark in the red. And this is one of those line items, so just to let you know, snow and ice is a standalone line item in the budget. But way like public safety, you have fire and police and inspection and all that. This is a standalone, so you really can't, you can actually deficit this line item, and then you have to raise it on your recap on the following year if you wanted to deficit. We're deciding not to. Community services, council on aging, again, her electricity costs has really skyrocketed. She needs an adjustment there. It's actually 17% increase from our prior year. This also includes, and everybody asked me because she has solar on that building. Even though she has solar credits from the solar, she's still seeing a large increase in her electricity costs. And it's basically just, again, we budgeted a year and a half ago of her budget, and it's just not significant for I need additional for that building. And then on the veterans, we're gonna need an adjustment for the salary line item. Our veterans agent was out sick for about a month and a half to 2 months, and we had an interim taking her spot. And so we had to hire a part-time person, and that wasn't included in the budget. So we need a salary adjustment for her. And then her veterans costs, again, when you budget a year and a half out, she really doesn't know what her benefits are gonna be and what the additional veterans that are gonna be coming in. So she needs some veterans burial costs, and just for veterans on illness. And then she needs a little bit additional money for the Memorial Day flags that they put out. The cost of those flags actually have gone up, just like everything else. So she's needed an increase on that. So that's just a little, and we're proposing in this budget that with this adjustment that we'll be taking $375,000 from the Finance Committee reserve and taking $769,950 out of stabilization fund to cover these adjustments.
Out of where?
Stabilization fund.
Maybe I missed it. The $25,000 closing out the Finance Committee, where is that being used?
So we're just gonna keep it just in case.
In case we have something toward the end of the year?
I always err on caution, it's just gonna be April 1st. So I get, as a town accountant, I get a little nervous where.
I understand. It's one of the few, so,
So it's a place where we can go because I just don't have.
without holding a special town meeting, yes, okay. All right, I understand.
Yeah. That's the only reason why I'm not taking the
Yep.
full amount. I just,
100,000.
I have 3 more months to go and I'm not sure. you know.
Understood.
And that's sort of my follow-up question is like, how confident are you that this is what we will need versus, potential other
Yeah, we
risk out
did,
there?
these are, and some of these numbers might be a little bit, I don't want to say we were inflating them because we're not, but we were, we made sure that this is what we need and that we're not going to have to go back.
Conservative estimates.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, yes, conservative. Any question?
Any questions? Thank you.
Okay.
So I'll entertain a motion. We will vote on, yeah.
I make a motion to recommend Article 2, fiscal year 2026 operating budget amendments submitted by the town manager for transferring $769,950 from general stabilization fund and $375,000 from fiscal year 2026 finance committee reserve fund for the budget line items as written.
Second.
Discussion?
Is this the first time we've done this at this level in some time?
This amount?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
We haven't
Yeah.
done this in a while. I think it shows, we haven't had a winter like this in 6, 7, 8 years. So you get that $630,000 for that. As the town manager alluded, a lot of zoning issues and legal issues that we've had this year, we haven't had previously in prior years and hopefully will not have in the future. And then we have a lot of shuffling going around, so that's also doesn't typically happen in a normal year. So yes, I agree. We haven't seen $1 million adjustment in a long time, thank goodness. But nothing that was described here really shocked me, I guess.
Agreed.
I'm not shocked, I just don't know if this is going to become a trend.
Well, I think we heard that I hope it doesn't, and you're right. I hope it doesn't become a trend, and at least for the snow and so we heard from the presentation a few weeks ago that for snow we were to expect the snow issue.
Yeah, I accept, that's
so
not
yeah.
an issue.
And then for legal, I do question that. I hope we don't have the same kind of issues in legal expenses we had this year. If we do, I go back to my comment I made just a little bit earlier. It's not unheard of for towns to shift how they're handling their legal processes. So I think it's something we have to keep an eye on next year. And if if it becomes a trend and not an aberration, I think it is a concern budgeting in the future.
Yeah, and we also heard that there could be, depending on how things go, if things go against us over the next year, have $1 million of incremental risk that would have to come out of the stabilization fund or the reserve, right? So then the thought, I think we have to be mindful of how, if there's free cash at the end of the year, are we throwing it at paving roads or other things, CapEx, or are we really
Maintaining
that stabilization fund?
Agreed. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? 6 in favor, 1 abstention. And that's why we take votes. Not each one. Article 3.
I make a motion to recommend Article 3, Neshoba Valley Technical High School District Fiscal Year 2027 Assessment submitted by the town manager for the town to raise and appropriate $4,316,932 to fund the town's fiscal year 2027 assessment to the Neshoba Valley Technical School District.
I second it.
Discussion. Yeah, no surprises there.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
The information in these last few years with Dr. Pigeon has been thorough and timely, and I have no questions on what's being done.
Yeah, same.
Agreed.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 4.
I make a motion to recommend Article 4, Chelmsford Public Schools fiscal year 2027 operating budget submitted by the town manager for the town to raise and appropriate $78,150,000 to defray charges for the operations of the Chelmsford Public Schools for the fiscal year period July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, it's a similar story here, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the
Here
number
too, a
came,
thoughtful budget.
and the number was
Yeah.
lower than initially thought in our previous discussions, so, at our tri-boards, so.
Yeah, thorough explanation of the walk
Yep.
between here and there. That makes sense.
Exactly. All right. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 5.
I make a motion to recommend Article 5, General Government Fiscal Year 2027 Operating Budget submitted by the town manager as written.
Second.
Discussion. We all had our reviews with all of our different
Yeah,
department
we did.
heads and went through a thorough review in multiple venues. No questions, and the questions we did have were answered. So,
Exactly. It's one of those things as the conditions continue to get a bit tighter, we continue to maintain funding it and service as much we can, and so I think that's what we can do, and just continue to calibrate as we learn more information.
yep. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? None. 7 in favor. Article 6. No action on this article. Article 7.
Article 7, I make a motion to recommend Article 7, Finance Committee Reserve Fund submitted by the town manager as written.
Second.
Discussion?
Is this enough?
Wish we could
Yeah.
afford
Yeah.
more.
That's right.
It seems to still be adequate for our audits and bond rating. They like that we have it. We typically have it till the end of the year and don't use it unless it's being appropriated like it is in town meeting or kept open for the end of the fiscal year and returned as free cash. I do agree, it continues every year to become a smaller and smaller percentage of the budget, and by statute, it can be a larger percentage. I think if we have more surprises, and the Article 2 becomes not an aberration, but a trend, it may be worth evaluating in the future.
How often is the 400,000 been standard for like 5 years, 3 years?
Oh, much longer than that.
It's been standard since I've been on the committee.
Much longer
I
than
thought it
that.
was
Oh, that's a long time.
500,000
No,
at one
not-
point.
No.
Not when I was here.
No, okay.
So the 400,000 has been standard for X years,
At least 12.
at least 12, okay, a dozen years.
More like 20.
Thank you. You would know.
Right, so been standard for about 20 years, and the percentage of times it goes down to
Well,
0?
that would still be 20.
Yeah.
No?
During my tenure, it was increased.
Yeah.
Okay, I
All
stand
right, so let's go with the
corrected.
12 years, definitely 12.
Seems like 20.
Right?
It's been more than
Yes.
12.
Yeah.
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, 12, 15. So 12, 15 has been 400,000. On average, how much has been used? Like, on average.
So
I know it's roller coastery.
Not that much.
it's never been exhausted other than being used for town meeting. So
Okay.
it's never been not available and needed at the end of the year, is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And so this fund is one of those statutory availabilities that we have in order to avoid a special town meeting being held by the end of the fiscal year or for 15 days thereafter, where this fund could be accessed based upon our vote as a committee to address any issues with the budget for that, closing out that year. We've never had to do that.
And when you say with the budget for the year is from what time to what time?
The fiscal year, so July 1st through
Okay.
June 30th.
So this 400,000 is from July 1st to July of next year, and as long as we don't exhaust it.
July 15th if you go the 15 days, yeah.
Okay, so.
We've
long-
never we've never had an issue where we've needed it and not had it.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say it's worked with the
The
400,000.
bond markets like
Yeah.
it because it says you have enough for a rainy day.
Well, the auditors like it for our AAA bond rating because we have the availability of that use. And again, it's important to have it as for our committee so that it has been used during the year in previous years in order to address one or two issues one of them was a DPW, I think, 8 years ago. We had a situation where we needed to pay a certain bill, and we didn't want to have to go to a special town meeting and go through that expense just for that one item. So stuff like that can be done during the year, and then there's a 15 days thereafter. And so what Darlene was alluding to with 25,000 staying in there is that something could still pop up between town meeting and the end of, and then the 15 days into July. And so that's why it's still staying there for the availability for this fiscal year 26. But typically what happens is the majority of this either gets used at town meeting as a funding source in spring, or it gets shifted into free cash
Okay, so
for the
you're
fall.
saying sometimes if it's all not completely unused, someone might say, hey, yo, let's get into this little piggy bank.
Well, no,
Or
it gets put into free cash, and free
Okay.
cash is either put into stabilization funds, which it was for many years,
Okay.
or it's used for a capital project in the fall, like we've seen in the prior years.
Okay.
But to address this, shouldn't we go back and ask the question of the items that are extraordinary this year? And make sure that we budgeted enough money so that we're not gonna have the same problem vis-à-vis
I
the
think with-
storm, for instance, is the DPW gonna budget the same amount of money?
So what I would say,
Yeah.
about the storm, I think the snow budget is unique in that you can carry a deficit and then address it through an amendment of the budget. So for that particular item, I don't think it's as important because you don't need to hold a special town meeting to adjust the budget for the snow. You can spend into the deficit and then adjust the budget to address it.
Would be nice if we had, like, because I was looking at, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was looking at the snow and ice, right, we're at, it's 645,000 more, right? Again, we haven't changed the amount, and maybe it's something.
Sorry, snow and ice?
Snow and ice, yeah. You know, it'd be nice if we didn't go into a deficit. I know we can, we don't have to do that, but it would be nice that if we had this, at least enough to cover any weird.
We run a 5-year average in that account. This is
Yeah.
the first time in 5 years it's gone over on snow and ice. And so to sit here and say we haven't been budgeting it appropriately, or we're not budgeting.
Oh, I
No,
don't,
no, no,
I
no,
don't
no,
think
no, no,
she's
no,
saying
No,
that,
the
yeah.
point is, we can't be weathermen, but the point is, we keep a running 5-year average, and that's how we fund the budget, and that's how I funded it for 20
And,
years.
and that's my discussion, aberration versus trend. And
Right,
so
and
those
'cause-
are two items we talked about being an
Like,
aberration
energy-
versus a trend.
Energy costs got weird, you know,
And they're gonna continue to get weird.
what,
Well, what's the price of oil going to be in 6 months from now? I mean, so, and the problem that we get hit on, we competitively bid our energy costs. The problem wasn't in the supply, it was the state's efforts to, on the distribution costs.
I'd rather not talk about that.
I'm not saying this to criticize the budget. I'm saying to make sure that if we have an opportunity here to put, to put a little more into this,
And we did increase the legal budget, the budget that's before you. And
Yeah.
we also have a stabilization fund that's at the maximum amount of
Yep.
our 10%
Yeah.
policy.
Yes.
So,
Great.
again, I don't want to be criticized for needlessly cutting expenses of town services when we have adequate reserves. And that's the balance that we try to maintain, and I agree, we're not going to knowingly underfund the budget, but, I hope that we budgeted adequately, and the biggest one, the snow and ice, we can't foresee.
No, you can't.
And the second largest one being legal, that's variable, and I can tell you this, every month, the select board gets the detailed legal services bill, so they are on top of why we're getting these costs, and I can tell you, and they see it in the county, they see it in Treasury, and in my office, and these are extraordinary cases such as the Ledge Road issue, as I mentioned, the 40B issue on River Neck Road, some public records issues, that are personnel related. I can tell you, it's not frivolous expenditures, but I don't think it's something that's going to be reoccurring or will set a trend from what I can see at this point. Now, yes, the legal hourly rate has increased due to inflationary pressures, and that's something we've got to monitor.
Well, also, how many contracts were settled this year, in fiscal year 26?
We've got we're all settled but one.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's part of the legal expenses, and a lot of those are scheduled for the next 3 years. Yeah.
But when we asked the superintendent of schools to cut $1 million out of his budget request, and we're cutting on the town side, I've got to,
No,
try to
agreed.
keep that balance as opposed to
Yeah.
putting out, people and/or
Yeah.
vital services, that's the balance.
Yeah,
And so
so-
I think, Dave, I share your concern. We don't want to be knowingly under budgeting and then drawing into our reserves on an annual basis. But this is atypical, and extraordinary that we haven't seen before. And I think if you look at the drivers of it, it really is snow and ice and legal.
Mhm.
And then some of the other things were related to the weather. The reason that the electricity in the senior center has solar panels over budget was because the solar panels were covered with snow for basically 3 months. And then she's then buying more expensive electricity from the grid because she's getting no solar electricity. And hopefully that won't occur, but so they really were, in my mind, extraordinary and
Sure.
unforeseen.
So something to keep an eye on in the future, but I think for now.
I think
yeah.
it's my job on this committee to ask these questions.
Yep.
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay?
Don't disagree.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm not taking exception to you asking these questions, but I want you to know that we've put a lot of thought in at the management level and the department head level, and it was a very difficult budgeting year, asking people to hold the line. And I think you're seeing this not only in Chelmsford, but you're seeing it in all the communities around us, that tight squeeze that we're under.
There's no doubt in my mind with you, none whatsoever.
Okay.
Okay?
So, any further discussion on Article 7?
No.
Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Thank you.
7 in favor. Article 8.
I make a motion to recommend Article 8, fiscal year 2027 capital budget submitted by town manager and capital planning committee as written.
Second.
Discussion. Here's just a reminder of the items that are on the docket for this capital budget. I think everything was explainable. I honestly wish there were more, we had more funds available to address the large capital budget we have outstanding.
Right.
Or the plans and the, no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. The large capital needs we have outstanding, is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
But nothing on here was frivolous or unneeded.
No,
Right.
absolutely not.
And the cost estimates are our best efforts. What's happening now, we are getting very favorable bids.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
And it's something
Yes.
we couldn't
That's
have
good.
foreseen when we approved those projects a year ago or some time ago. And again, we don't know when these projects will be out to bid, but, you know, we're awarding the roof project from McCarthy School on Monday night. I mean, and our other bids lately have come in just remarkably well, and we don't know how that's going to happen in the future, so. Because believe me, you were paying and we were paying, and we had to come in for some supplemental appropriations.
Sure.
Yeah, slow down in the market, maybe?
Just make the committee aware that this is a very fluid market.
Do you think that part of the reason why the bids have been, let's use the word reasonable, is because other towns are in worse shape and they're
No,
not bidding on anything?
It's because the general overall economy, the
Right.
work isn't out there right
Okay.
now. And we also bid at a favorable time. We knowingly go out to bid, like on roof projects and other items, early in the season while people are looking, you know.
Looking for work.
So I think the answer, really, I think it's beyond the municipal market, it's the general market.
So you're bidding in when other people aren't thinking about bidding?
No, we're just knowingly, consciously getting the bids out in the beginning of the bid season timeframe, and when we know we get more favorable pricing. But even beyond that, I think it's because of the fact that there's been a general slowdown in the construction industry. Now, again, whether inflation will now spiral that in another direction, we don't know, but right now, it's good.
Any further discussion? I'll cycle through. A quick who's who. Oh, too far. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, 7 in favor. Article 9.
I make a motion to approve Article 9, PFAS treatment plant upgrades at 54 Richardson Road, submitted by the town manager, for the town to raise and appropriate $242,000 for enhancements to the PFAS remedial treatment system located at the town's highway yard located at 54 Richardson Road, including any incidental and related expenses.
Second.
Discussion.
Again, we have to do it, right?
It's not optional.
That's right.
Not optional.
Yeah.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 10.
I make a motion to recommend Article 10, fiscal year 2027 Sewer Enterprise Fund operating budget submitted by the town manager as written.
Second.
Discussion. Pretty straightforward, pretty
Straightforward.
annual. All right.
Well explained.
Yep. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 11.
I make a motion to recommend Article 11 sewer pump station upgrades for Clinton Avenue, Fair Street, and Evergreen Street submitted by the town manager as written.
Second.
Discussion.
I'm sorry, I'm blanking out. Why, is it just age and use that they need to be done?
So this is going through a process where a number of these are being addressed, and they're being, as you see where they are right now, they're outdoor, fenced in, and we're moving to the buildings. They have the control panels and things like that. They're remotely controlled, protected from the elements, look nicer in the communities, things like that.
And will last longer because they're.
And will last longer because they're protected, yeah.
Okay, thank you. But I'm done.
Yeah, I'm thankful there's only a dozen or so more, right?
Yeah, we've been through quite a few in the past few years, yeah. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 12.
I make a motion to recommend Article 12 fiscal year 2027 Stormwater Management Enterprise Fund submitted by the town manager as written.
Second.
Discussion?
Pretty simple, straightforward.
Again,
Yeah.
similar story here.
All right. Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 13.
I make a motion to recommend Article 13 Stormwater Rack Body Truck submitted by the town manager as written.
Second.
Discussion?
It's a twofer.
All right. It's always a good thing.
Yeah. All right. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 14.
I make a motion to recommend Article 14 Rainbow Avenue Drainage Improvements submitted by the town manager as written.
Second.
Discussion?
I mean, I think that picture's pretty telling.
Yeah. That flooding's a disaster, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine in the winter that, there's a whole skating rink?
Hearing no further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 15.
I make a motion to recommend Article 15 fiscal year 2027 Forum Ice Rink Enterprise Fund submitted by the town manager as written.
Second.
Discussion?
Pretty steady year on year.
Yep. No questions there.
Yep.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, 7 in favor. Article 16.
I make a motion to recommend Article 16, amend the fiscal year 2026 PEG Access and Cable-Related Enterprise Fund submitted by the town manager as written.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All's in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. There is no action on Article 17.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, there's a,
And 17,
oh,
yes.
I
17,
apologize.
yes.
Article 17 there is. Article 17 there is.
Okay, and not 18. Okay. I make a motion to recommend Article 17, fiscal year 2027 PEG access and cable-related enterprise funds submitted by the town manager, as written.
Second.
Discussion?
This one still feels like it lacks a long-term vision of how it's going to get supported, and so I know it's not something we can solve right now, but
That's a national thing, yeah.
That's right.
That's a problem, and I agree.
Yeah.
Problem.
And it needs to be addressed, but it's unfortunately not currently something we can address at the local level. That cable cutting is gonna eventually cause an issue.
So if we play it out, so imagine that no revenue comes in associated with this, then we're on the hook of providing the services, right? And we just have to find money in budget?
Well, no,
or-
we don't have to provide the services, no requirement to provide
Okay.
the services. But we just want to have the services. So like we're being recorded and then broadcast tonight and recorded for future viewing, you'd need volunteers or it wouldn't happen. Yep. Complete volunteers, no budget, no way to maintain the equipment.
Unless we
Unless
choose
we
to fund
choose
it.
to fund it.
As
Yep.
as a practical matter, though, because the community has gotten used to the service,
Right.
there would be pressure.
Well, probably would be.
And there would have to be some funding,
Yeah.
I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. No action on Article 18.
I make a motion to recommend Article 19, fiscal year 2027 golf course enterprise fund operating budget submitted by the town manager, as written.
Second.
Discussion. Much like the Forum Enterprise Fund.
Yep.
Yep.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, 7 in favor. Article 20.
I make a motion to recommend Article 20, annual appropriation of departmental revolving funds submitted by the town manager, as written.
Second.
Discussion? Eventually, we won't have to do this, maybe, if legislature goes through.
It's
I'm
ridiculous.
sorry, good?
So we have to do this every year because we're required to do this every year. There could be legislature at the state level that would allow us not to do this every year.
So the revolving funds would just revolve.
Yeah,
Unless you're increasing the amount, then you
Yeah.
have to bring it to a vote.
All right, so
Yeah. Nice.
if they're relatively stable, if they're stable, drop a stamp, go.
this, yeah, but because we were required under Chapter 35, Section 6 to do this.
So why is that not part of the consent agenda?
It is.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 21.
I make a motion to recommend Article 21, Cemetery Improvement and Development Fund, submitted by the Cemetery Commission, as written.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
I had 6 in favor, 1 abstention. Article 22.
I make a motion to recommend Article 22, Property Valuation Services, submitted by the town manager, as written.
Second.
Discussion?
Got to get through it.
Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
6 in favor, 1 abstention. Article 23.
I make a motion to recommend Article 23, Community Preservation Fund, fiscal year 2027, debt service, admin, expenses, and reserves, submitted by Community Preservation Committee, as written.
Second.
Discussion. Just cycling through. Those are current years out for debt service.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward.
Good presentation earlier in the month.
Yep.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 24.
I make a motion to recommend Article 24, Community Preservation Fund, Preservation of Cemetery Headstones, submitted by the Community Preservation Committee.
Second?
Discussion?
This is a no-brainer.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
totally
it's good.
no-brainer.
it's great.
As we heard, there was an adjustment on where the money was. Let's
Yeah.
put it here, let's continue this.
Generous donation, right?
Generous donation
Yeah.
came in, and it's happened again, which is great. Hopefully it continues to happen.
Exactly, very
Yeah.
thankful for that.
Yeah. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 25.
Make a motion to recommend Article 25, Community Preservation Fund, Varney Playground, accessible playground equipment, submitted by the Community Preservation Committee, as written.
Second?
Discussion.
Another no-brainer.
Yeah,
It's such a cute playground.
good for the community.
Okay. And I'm just getting to the proposed budget.
What is Rare Road?
It is a foundation that provided a donation to help spearhead this accessible equipment.
Thank you.
It's the right thing to do.
Oh, I agree.
All right. Hearing no further discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 26.
I have a question about Article 26 before I make a motion.
Sure.
I don't recall getting a presentation from Brian Latina. Did he submit something?
He did not.
Okay.
I reached out a couple times via email.
I
I
see.
haven't received a response.
Okay, and so we're still gonna,
I propose that we still vote on it. It's asking us just to overturn what we voted on in fall town meeting.
okay.
And I believe that we unanimously, correct me if I'm wrong, we unanimously voted in favor of what was done at
Yes, we did.
fall
Yes,
town
we
meeting.
did, okay.
So if we wanted to stay the way it is, we would,
If we wanted the bylaw to stay as it's currently been adjusted from fall town meeting, then we would vote in the negative.
okay.
It depends on how you make the motion.
Right.
Right.
So if we make an affirmative motion, we would vote in the negative. If you make a negative motion, you vote in the affirmative. Or if you don't want to make a choice because you didn't see additional presentation, you abstain. I guess is the best way to explain it.
I recommend an affirmative motion and we vote in the negative. That's my recommendation.
To keep it,
I
Yeah.
second that.
Okay?
yeah, okay. But that wasn't an actual motion, so.
No.
Okay.
That was
Just for
a-
clarity
Okay.
purposes.
That was a
yes.
recommendation.
I make a
Yes.
motion to recommend Article 26 zoning bylaw amendment definition of family submitted by Brian Latina, citizen petition.
Second?
Discussion.
If the person doesn't
think
feel
we just
strongly
have
enough
it.
to come and make their presentation, and I also see that the planning board and the zoning folks worked really hard to make the state happy, it doesn't really matter. I know who my family is, you don't have to define it for me.
I'm not going to draw a negative inference from the person not presenting. However, I'm going to stick with the way that we voted in the fall. So what I will say is that I see no reason to overchange. I understand the reasons it was done. It was, and then in our analysis of why we did it, it was partly to address any financial concerns for any litigation that might stem from it. And so we made our assessment. We made our vote. I don't feel strongly about changing it, and I haven't seen anything presented as to why we should.
I agree.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? All those opposed? Aye. Any
Didn't you say
abstentions?
nay?
Oh, nay. You would say nay.
Nay.
Actually, technically, you would say nay, yes.
Nay.
Nay.
Yes. Any abstentions? So that's 7 opposed. Article 27.
I make a motion to recommend Article 27, General Bylaw Amendment, Chapter 108, Outdoor Lighting, submitted by Kelly Beatty and the Planning Board, as written.
Are they adjusting it, though?
Oh, should we not?
No, do we say as, gonna be
As
adjusted?
adjusted.
Well, we have to vote on what's been presented here. We can't make a vote on anything that's being adjusted. We'd have to,
Or we can delay
well,
it.
we can delay and
happened-
abstain. That's the other option.
Yeah, we've this has happened before, right?
Yes, it
Where-
has.
Yeah, so okay.
So we can vote now, we can choose to vote later, we can abstain from voting. I'm here to moderate, not to decide.
I think some of the changes to the language, I think are gonna matter.
So you prefer not to vote at this time?
I would prefer not to vote at this time,
Okay.
in my opinion.
And we can caucus the night of the town meeting and take a vote at that point.
We could
Yeah.
hold a meeting, although I know David's position on.
We can,
meeting-
but I will tell you my position at a time.
Okay,
I am well aware of your position, David. That's
Yeah.
why I mentioned it
It's
before
not
you,
likely gonna
before
change
you were gonna
mine
say
either.
it.
Thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no.
So when you say caucus, would that be the night of the
It would be a
first reading?
meeting. It would be a meeting prior to town meeting.
Right.
At the night of town, we could technically, theoretically, any time between now and town meeting, should there be any additional changes, which we think that there might be.
So why would we think there'd be more changes?
There were discussions this evening, and there were notes taken by the planning board and by the presenter. I
So how do
assume
we-
that there may be some changes to the language.
Yeah, there's gonna be
And
changes.
All right,
so,
so,
You
okay,
wanna
'cause I don't
just-
wanna vote on what isn't there.
no, I agree. It doesn't make sense to vote on what's not actually being presented at town meeting. But the question then becomes,
Why don't we just come in, like, get the time, have them make the changes and do a quick meeting, come in, and we'll just vote that. That way we satisfy.
we could, if, depending on when they come in, we could hold another meeting on another night
We do it all
prior to
Zoom?
town meeting.
Or we could just vote nay on what's presented here right now.
Or abstain.
Abstain.
We could
Yeah.
abstain.
And
We
wait for
could do
town
that.
meeting.
Yeah, we could do that.
yeah.
And give the reason
Yeah.
why the abstention was there.
Again, I'm not here to tell you which way we should do it. I'm happy to do it in any of the ways that are presented.
I mean, like, there's a lot of work put into this, and I'm happy that they changed it. I actually abstained from the planning board from voting on it.
Okay.
Because I needed just more time to think about it, to be
Mhm.
quite honest. This is,
I'm shocked.
it's been a while. I do believe that, and do trust that the changes are going to be made. I mean, they came back, they made the changes from last year, they pulled it actually after our meeting. And I'm just afraid that if we do a nay on this, then that's gonna, or like an abstention and not vote on it, I don't think that's fair to the
Petitioner.
to the petitioner, to be quite honest. So, like, and I don't wanna, like, he's worked very hard to address a lot of our issues, or almost all of them, even tonight, and he's willing to make them. So, like, that was my only thing, that I would prefer that we just came back and voted on what's gonna be presented to town meeting.
Okay.
And make a fair assessment.
That's
That
fine.
makes sense to me.
That's perfectly fine. I
So
agree with
could we
that.
have that meeting all Zoom, like a half an hour meeting where we just, and it's publicly and people can join the Zoom room. Do we have to have it in a live format like this?
Why don't we have it, I'll be here, like, I'll make it, like, if we have, can we have it?
Yeah,
I can
I would
Zoom in. I can
prefer
be
not
here.
to have it completely Zoom.
I can be here.
Um,
It's not a problem.
It's a matter of finding a date. Well, it depends on two things. It depends on when the changes are made and when they're prevented, and when we have available. Like, for instance, next Thursday would not be available because zoning board of appeals is here next Thursday. So the first Thursday we would have would be that following Thursday. I would not make the book at that time. Because we would be past the point, I think we'd be past the point where we would be able to get it into the book.
Next Thursday's the last.
Is the last, yeah.
Can we do it before the
Hold on,
zoning
hold on,
meeting?
hold on.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump ahead here.
I mean, if it's just gonna be short.
If we could, sorry, Cindy, what was the question?
If we could do it before the zoning board meeting next Thursday? What time is it?
Yeah, no, if we're gonna
Two-
record
two-
and televise, I don't think we could do that.
Too tight?
Wait a minute.
Zoning board's meeting next Thursday. Zoning board's meeting next Thursday.
Oh, they're not meeting next Thursday.
Unlikely.
Jeez, no one
Okay,
has
I
zoning
can't-
issues, huh? Wow,
Wow.
that's 2 months in a row.
But you need to get the revision.
But we need the revision, yeah, that's the thing.
I have the 9th as the last day for a vote.
The 9th being a Wednesday or Tuesday?
Thursday.
No, it'll be Thursday.
I
Thursday's the
guess so
9th.
technically, if we had to vote that night, you could get it in the book.
Yeah, because then it would just be,
Yeah,
I'll just be adding that last.
yeah. Do
You'd
we,
Do
have
we
to
do another,
incorporate it
like, do we
into
do
the
another meeting
letter.
on a different night and just not televise it? Like, we do it in the other one?
no, because then we'll get the questions as to why didn't you televise it? Was it not, why is it not available for discussion, things like that. I want to try to avoid
Yeah, you're right.
that, yeah.
So
Either
these
have
kind
it
of meetings
available the
can
night
all
of town meeting where people that are coming to the meeting can go to that meeting because they're already gonna be going there, or have it prior and have it televised. And I still have to check with telemedia to make sure they're available and they could do it too, so.
So if I yielded on my objection to having it on the,
We don't have to decide what night we have it tonight. But we do have to decide whether or not we vote now. I guess is the best way to put it. Because we either vote or we don't. If we
I
wanna
make a
post-
motion that we table this discussion since the actual rules aren't ready yet.
We wouldn't want to table it, because if you
What-
table
okay.
something during the same meeting, it does come
Defer
off the
the-
table.
defer the vote.
Then it dies.
Okay,
So we just want to defer the vote.
defer, okay.
Yeah.
I make a motion to defer the vote until the regulations and rules and whatever are all written up, so we can judge on what is actually there.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. If that's the case, I propose that on 28, we make the similar motion. Just 28 is just the adjustment of the, hold on, I gotta get there. Oh, too far. So that's just the adjustment of the zoning bylaw in reference to the adjustment to the other bylaw.
So I make a motion to defer the vote on Article 28,
It's the same evening as as Article 27.
same as 27.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Article 29.
I make a motion to recommend Article 29 zoning bylaw amendment, rezone certain parcels on the official zoning map submitted by the planning board as written.
Second.
Discussion?
This is really hard work to try to figure out the best, so I have no desire to question these really long, hard decisions that have been made.
I think this actually will be a benefit to that area.
Yeah.
Long
I'm kinda-
overdue.
And financially for the town
Yeah.
as well.
Long
Uh,
overdue.
Excited
I would
about
be
that.
happy to
Right.
see the availability for another restaurant or a cafe or something like that across the street. I know my family uses that building in more ways than one, so to have something like that added to that location would be fantastic. So I think this is the reason why CBLLT was so important to be voted on at the prior town meeting. And now applying it to this location, I think, is definitely appropriate. Any further discussion?
I just think it's a lot of hard work.
Oh, yeah.
A
It is.
lot of hard work that's been put into this.
And we're not
That's what I
done.
said.
That's why it wasn't
Yeah,
done.
that is what you
That's why
said,
it
Elaine,
wasn't
you're
done
correct. He's echoing your sentiment.
Oh, there you go.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor, Article 30.
I make a motion to recommend Article 30 zoning bylaw amendment, community enhancement and investment overlay district submitted by the planning board as written.
Second.
Discussion? This is, I see it as housekeeping,
Yeah.
That's what it seems like to me, yeah.
yeah. Despite your substantial changes issued.
You're a good housekeeper.
What's that?
You're a good housekeeper.
I think this is all still,
Jumped ahead.
did I?
Yep.
Oh, sorry. No, I don't think I did. No, I did
No,
not.
that's all.
That's all part of the same
Oh,
one.
that's all part of the
Oh,
same
yeah.
one.
No, no, no.
Okay,
No, no, no,
sorry.
This goes on and on. There we go.
There
Okay.
you go.
Yeah.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. Article 31.
I make a motion to recommend Article 31 zoning bylaw amendment, revise the definition of boarding house submitted by the planning board as written.
Second.
Discussion? No. This is after the change to the family zoning that we've just voted to continue to support. This is just a natural flow through from that previous discussion.
I love coherence like that.
I know you do.
There's too much incoherence in life.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, Article 32.
Make a motion to recommend Article 32 zoning bylaw amendment definition of bed and breakfast and add to use table submitted by the planning board as written.
Second?
Discussion? I don't know how many bed and breakfasts we'll get.
Yeah.
I think if it opens up the opportunity, to your point, to have the discussion and.
It's a
you know,
possibility.
It's a possibility.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah, there is a
Right.
chance. That's right.
All right.
Yeah, it just seems like with the use table, you'd want to broaden it a little bit, but again, that's.
RC, we have a lot of RC area, which is,
That's, yeah.
Oh, I
do
missed
have a
that. Sorry,
lot
that was,
of
that was my
RC.
miss.
We have
I
a
thought on
lot.
the other slide that it did not show, it was an N for RC, like all the residential was no. That's my mistake.
Chris, for clarity, RC
No,
is
I
planning
think
board
you are.
approval,
I
correct?
think I saw the same thing.
that should be an end.
okay.
Yeah, I saw the
Oh.
same
Okay.
thing.
Okay,
Okay.
Oh.
okay. Yeah, that to me is like, if you have high-density residential, then it would naturally, in my mind, fit there, but again, it's at least starting the
Well,
conversation.
I guess the
here.
argument then is, you know,
Gonna
you have a whole
change
bunch of
words?
bed and breakfasts open up next door to yourself. So, yeah. I'm not sure I want a whole bunch of people coming next door to me. I think I'm RC.
You're RC, you're RC.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pretty sure. Most of North Chelmsford is RC. So, yeah, I mean, while I wouldn't mind frequenting one, I wouldn't want one being frequented next door to me, I guess is the best way to put it. All right. Any further discussion? Oh, it is correct in here, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor, Article 33.
I make a motion to recommend Article 33 zoning bylaw amendment use table commercial parking garage structure submitted by the planning board as written.
Second?
Discussion? Bring on the parking garages, I guess? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, it makes sense to be under a special permit rather than zoning board for fairness purposes. I think that makes sense. All right. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor, Article 34.
I make a motion to recommend Article 34 zoning bylaw amendment zoning dimensional tables change minimum depth submitted by the planning board as written.
Second?
Discussion.
Good housekeeping.
Yep. Change those zeros to NAs.
I have zero objections.
I don't think it's applicable. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor, Article 35.
I make a motion to recommend Article 35 utility easements for fire stations submitted by the town manager.
Second?
Discussion? It's needed.
Pretty straightforward. It's needed,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
right.
I don't know how else you do it.
In order to proceed with the
That's right.
project, which has now been awarded,
Is that what you're gonna write in the finance book? It's needed? Finance,
it's necessary.
sorry, okay, sorry,
Yeah.
not needed.
Considering we're decommissioning the 2 fire stations April 1st?
31st, maybe?
31st.
March 31st? Good, we're not doing April
Next
Fool's
week.
Day. Yeah, we need to make sure we put this utility easement in so we can get the utilities to Fire Station 3. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor, Article 36.
I make a motion to recommend Article 36, street acceptance for Proctor Road, submitted by the select board as written.
Second?
Hey, I'm happy to hear this is one of the last arterial roads we're gonna have to accept.
Unbelievable.
You know, It's only been since 1655 that we've been a town. Yeah, so we want to make sure we get those roads taken care of. No, there is a lot of work that goes into actually getting them accepted, getting the proper plans in, making sure we don't need any takings, making sure we have any easements that are necessary. So it's a process.
And we get money from the
And
state.
but we get
Yeah,
the best
we get
part is we get the money, Chapter 90 reimbursement, and this is one of the bigger ones. And so all that will be left after this is a few of the non-arterial roads in town that will still have to be addressed. But this is the big one.
Does anyone know off the top of their head how much that's worth, like this road, in terms of Chapter 90?
Money.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
Just
know.
some amount.
Not off the top of my head.
Some
no.
amount.
Yeah, it's a formula.
Okay,
Better than zero.
right.
Better than zero, less than a lot.
Don't get technical on me.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? 7 in favor. All right. Not following the town meeting. That's the next town meeting. That'll be October 19th next
It'll
year?
be the Paulus
Oh, this year?
meeting.
Okay.
The what?
It's
The
the
Paulus. Paul.
Paul Less.
Paul Less
Paul
town
Less.
meeting.
The non-Cohen, I don't know what I want to say. Of course, it's better for you.
Okay.
Oof.
Yeah.
That'll be the third Monday in October rather than the last Monday in April for Springtown meeting. All right, moving right along in our agenda, we have our next round of review the reporting schedule. So let me actually pull that up. And I actually do have it this evening. Okay, so, Town Manager presents budget to Finance Committee, February 12th. We've been through all that. We've had our budget hearings. We've had the budget materials. Pam, you'll get the budget materials that you haven't already gotten from John
Yep,
and
I have
from Paul.
Most of them. I
Yeah,
think.
most of them already, perfect. We've had most of our vote this evening, but as we were talking about previously, April 9th will be that last day to vote, and so we'll target April 9th as a meeting night to review Article 27 and 8.
That's also a Thursday?
Yes, that's also a Thursday, yes. And if it's before that, we can do that. If it's April 2nd, we could potentially do that. But we have availability because we have a little bit of wiggle room. I'll confirm with Chelmsford Media, and I'm sure that there will be no one in this room on the Thursday night. But we'll confirm.
Yeah, there'll be a brief select board reorg meeting that night at 6, but they'll be out of your way.
On the 9th?
On the 9th, yeah, because the election's the 7th.
Oh, that's right.
So they'll be reorganized, but they'll be there at 6 o'clock, they'll be out of your way by 6:30.
Oh, look at that. Perfect. Well, hopefully it'll only take half an hour. You never know. I mean, John's going to, yeah.
I would also propose that maybe we have a joint board meeting on the Wednesday, that we're meeting, first half hour of our meeting, you could join us. And we could have.
Yeah, when is, so when would that, I'm sorry, what night would that be?
That'd be that Wednesday.
The-
the 8th.
April 8th.
8th.
So instead of meeting on the 9th, you're saying come
You could
together for
join us
8th?
the first half hour of our meeting, and we could have one presentation to both groups, and then both groups can,
Oh, so the planning board hasn't voted on this yet?
not on the changes.
Oh, that's right, of course, yeah.
So we can Zoom that, right?
Let's,
Because we can Zoom that because he's already got the room.
We can, but you're gonna make the entire set of two boards do a roll call vote.
Exactly.
So we're gonna vote on Wednesday as well? Is that?
Well, I mean,
that works for
proposing?
me.
Is that gonna be
Chris, let's talk
an official-
offline, and that's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a possibility.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that offline, and we can figure out what makes the most sense.
We do two separate votes, though, one for the.
Oh, we would do,
Finance
yeah, we're not doing a
Because-
collective vote, no.
Because I would then have to say yea or nay twice.
Right.
We did it all together.
If you change your mind, you have to really explain that.
You can vote on the night of town meeting, I just won't be there.
Okay.
So we're gonna
Yeah.
vote in the town meeting.
No,
David,
and I won't be around on the 2nd, but whatever.
I have no problem with that.
we'll talk offline, we'll figure what makes the most sense.
Not the second?
Book will be put together the
For
24th to the
Thursday,
10th. clerk provides finance committee finance director the draft of the book. Chairman's letter, last day is the 15th, tax day, thanks. Final comments are due at that same time, and then we'll have the book out prior to the manager's session at the 7 o'clock at Senior Center on the 23rd? The 22nd, the Wednesday, the 22nd, okay. Yep, Wednesday the 22nd, 7 o'clock at the Senior Center. So it'll definitely be available before then. Posted on the website as soon as it's ready, and then it'll be produced, and all will be available at that time. And then town meeting begins 7:30 on April 27th.
Time is just moving fast.
Yep.
Isn't it?
And what are the other days for the second and third meetings?
There would be the
It's always
following
the-
Thursday
yep.
and then the following Monday.
Thursday,
I
Monday.
don't think it's gonna be
I am
three.
hoping we're not 3 nights,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't think it's a 3 nights.
Yeah,
That's
so it'll be
okay.
the 27th and then the
Yeah,
30th, correct?
Yeah.
The last day of April, and then,
yeah, so I would say the 27th and the following Thursday.
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Oh, it'll be more than it'll be more than one night.
Yeah.
But I would hope that it'll only be 2 nights.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll be pushed to the third.
Six.
Discuss plans for upcoming meetings. So I think we just kind of did that.
So when so you'll
We
let
haven't
us-
sent, yeah, I'll send an email based upon, I'll have a discussion with Chris. We'll send an email based upon what makes the most sense for either a joint meeting and we vote separately, or we have our separate meeting depending on what we discuss. And then we'll set that date for that final vote. But that's really the next upcoming meeting. After that, we won't have a new meeting until, unless something pops up in the end of the fiscal year, until September.
Okay.
All right, next we have a session of public comment. Do we have any public comment? Seeing nothing in the Zoom room. Seeing nothing here. Any comments from the board? All right.
Well, I'd like to make one comment. I'd like to thank Paul for his service to this town. I hold him the highest esteem I possibly could, really. You've done a great job, and I really admire your work. And I wish you the best.
I think that the feeling is echoed throughout the committee.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely echo that.
Agreed.
You'll be missed.
It'll be a strange year in September. It'll be the first time we've
Yes,
had
it
a
will.
different town manager, at least for me, on the committee.
Who will that be?
It might be. Who knows? Yeah.
Right.
Unless they move real fast.
Yeah. It depends. It depends.
Yeah,
They'll
are
move
there
fast.
town managers
They'll
for,
move fast.
like, I used to be a town manager, now I do it for fun on the weekends for cover vacations.
My mind is brain trust brain.
All I'll say is that the interim town manager will be appointed by the select board that's coming on per policy. So they'll choose an interim, and then there'll be typically a committee formed in order
They'll
to.
do that quickly.
And they'll do that quickly.
They'll do that
Yeah,
quickly.
I think.
No, he wasn't here when I moved in, but he was here shortly after I moved into Chelmsford, so I don't know any difference.
Yeah, he wasn't here when I moved in either, but that was in the 80s, so.
Yeah.
Don't go by me, I thought we
You
had
were
the
born, you didn't move
$400,000 for 20 years.
No, I wasn't born here.
You were born here?
It's all a blur, Elaine.
I'm a blow-in.
You're born?
Yeah.
Oh, my
My
God.
parents aren't.
Yeah,
I
no,
am.
yeah, no, I'm a blow-in too.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I had
I
I had a native Chelmsfordian say to me, your husband coaches, is a scoutmaster? Oh, you can stay. Well, thank you.
Nice to see you
That's okay,
checked off the
everybody
boxes.
thinks I'm a
Right.
blow-in, and
47
really, I
years,
just
huh?
live in East Chelmsford. But everybody just assumes that's Lowell, so
All right.
I get that all the time.
I think that ends our, public comment. All right.
East Chelmsford, not Lowell.
I will,
Here, but I was in Bill Ricker before that.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh, I'm
So moved.
That's all right.
apologies.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.